You're listening to KCYP 97.7 The City. This is Scarlet Rose, and you're now listening to RGV Rocks. Thank you, Audex, for our intro. I want to remind you guys you are listening to KCYP 97.7 FMLP The City. This is Scarlet Rose on RGV Rocks. KCYP 97.7 FMLP The City is a nonprofit organization that promotes local artists such as myself and is the home of indie music. We are now accepting donations to our website, www.thecity977.com, and as well as sponsorships to keep this radio station thriving. For more information on paying donations, sponsorships, or business advertisement, feel free to contact Joe Martinez at 956-789-0702 or by email at martinezjoe@hotmail.com. I'll also be leaving the links below if you want to donate to the station, or if you want to donate to like our little show and get that running, you can contact Joe Martinez for any sponsorships or business advertisement if you want to sponsor our show. For the people that don't know who we are or what we do, RGV Rocks is a radio show and now an online podcast dedicated to the local talent, events, and all the wonderful people in the RGV, such as you and I. Today, I have a very special guest today, and kicking off for the 2022 year is Purple Villain. How are you doing?
How's it going?
So you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, because I know you have a lot on your plate. It's like a film composer, you got all this stuff.
Yeah, I like to keep busy. So I mean, I got some projects. I'm a music producer. I mean, that's like my main. And then I also make music for sci-fi films, which is another thing I enjoy to do. And I'm a co-host on a local podcast. So.
Mm-hmm. Now we're gonna talk a little bit about yourself, and since you are a part of the RGV. And since you're also a new guest on our show, I want to ask a really quick question to start off this interview. What is your favorite part about the RGV and why?
I guess for me, it's more like a culture thing. Mm-hmm. I really enjoy the culture. I really enjoy the food also. I mean, but who doesn't? Who doesn't, right? I've visited other places, and I remember when I was younger, I would always be like, man, I can't wait to leave here. Like, leave the valley. As I grew older, I'm like, nah, man, like the valley is where I want to be. Like, I love it here. And I plan to just be here for like, hopefully most of my life, and like all my life. So,
yeah. I was going to ask a quick question. Did you grow up here, or like what part of the valley are you from?
I was born actually in Modesto, California.
Oh, wow.
and about when I was like, I'd say maybe like around 3 is when my family came down here, and I've been here ever since.
Wow, that's cool. So like from your experience of the valley, like I know that you already mentioned like the culture and all things about that. How do you feel about like the music culture and like everything that you've done, especially when you're a part of a podcast too?
Oh yeah, the podcast was pretty awesome to start. That's pretty cool. But as long as I'm sorry, what was the question?
Like how do you feel about like the music culture, especially here in the valley?
Oh, okay. I've actually been around music here in the valley for a while, because I grew up like a metalhead, and I had a band back in the day playing VFW shows, playing all over the valley, and that's how I started getting into music. But I was able to see like live that was like 2008, like 2008.
Oh my gosh.
so I've actually seen like the whole, like, say from there on to now, mm-hmm. I've seen like the valley, like how it kind of changed in music. Like there's what's popular, what's not popular, like it all changed, and it's just been cool to like see it all.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. Going into music actually, and going into what you are known as Purple Villain, I see that you got like an FF Doom type character here. What is the origin story behind Purple Villain?
It's just pretty much I wanted a character for my music, because I've always been into like MF Doom and all those rappers that have or beat makers that have like an alter ego, mm-hmm. And like growing up and now I've always been like a kind of like a villain kind of guy. Like I always like the characters, like the way they make them, and so that's been a big part of like my upbringing. And I just happened to put like the two things together. My favorite color and the villains. I like villains, so I was like, let me go with Purple Villain.
That's so cool. I know a couple of people that we've interviewed on our show have had like different personas, such as like Valley Swerve, Italia 182, and even like our own co-host at the time, Jack the Poet. So that's the other thing that we've like encountered. So I find that really cool to find that like, oh, you have your own like little mascot or like your own different persona when it comes
Yeah.
to like making music. And I find that really, really cool.
Yeah.
Going into actually going into that, because I know you said that you grew up as a metalhead. How
Oh,
did
yeah.
you transition from that type of music to like making instrumental beats?
Yeah, I grew up a metalhead. Growing up, my dad, making barbecues outside, playing 94.5, but he actually played like all the genres. Like my dad was a big music head, and he still is, and he likes a whole bunch of music. So growing up, like with that, it actually like molded my I guess my liking for music. And I started in 8th grade. I got my first guitar.
Oh wow.
And then so I was in the band and everything. We did that. My band ended up breaking up, and I had one of my close friends. He had started like he was years already into making his own music. So when I like stopped with the band, he was like, dude, why don't you make like music for like by yourself or something? Because I was like struggling to find like just like what I wanted. And he gave me some programs, and ever since then I got into making music, and ever since then I fell in love with making like instrumentals and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever have like a problem with like learning how to make it, or did you already have like sort of like a music background that you had like, oh, you had music theory and you had like to figure that out?
No, I've always been just like learning on my own kind of person, and it's just I pretty much just like, especially with like using the programs that I was using, like everything's on YouTube. So I kind of like went to YouTube, and that was like my kind of like my school for making music, I guess.
Yeah, I get you, especially because I think a lot of Valley artists that we've interviewed so far have done the exact same thing. They're like, oh, okay, I
Yeah, it's
learned from a
crazy.
friend, or like I've learned from YouTube.
It's
And it's
like
kind of like
awesome
their
now.
go-to thing. Yeah.
Yeah, anything you can think of, anything like, man, what do I want to learn, and just put it, and you'll learn. Like you can find it yourself.
Mm-hmm. Now, going into your podcast, because how did you go about that? Because I know that you had that step into music,
Yeah.
but how did you go into wanting to do podcasts or like some sort of like, well, yeah, going into podcasts. And I think about it, yeah.
No, I've been into podcasts for years. I mean, I was kind of like early on like the whole podcast, because I remember like up until like recently, like there was like a big boom in like people doing podcasts or just listening to podcasts, and I was like way early in on it. So I had been listening to podcasts for years, and then I'd say what, like in 2016 maybe, I was gonna start one, and it was gonna be like super early, but it just didn't click. It felt forced and everything. And in October 2020, during the pandemic, uh, me and my homie, my co-host Johnny Esco, we got together and we just said like, man, let's do it, because I was gonna do it with him like years before, but it didn't work out. So we finally just like, man, we have a theme now, which is we try different craft brews on the episodes, and we always try different brews. Like we never do like a double or anything like that. So we're always like on the search for new beers, and it was just something cool to start down here, because I know craft beer was getting really popular down here these past couple years, and it was just a good time to start it, I guess.
Yeah, I get that a lot because I think I have a friend on Facebook that I've known him by, that he started a 5x5 brewing company.
Oh,
So
nice.
so I've learned a little bit about that because I know a lot of people in the Valley want to start up like their own beer companies and stuff like that.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I've seen a little bit of that community around.
Yeah, it's pretty cool community.
And how did you get like the idea of like wanting to like do a podcast and just drinking beers here and there? Did you just like have the idea of just like,
it,
it's just a chill one?
it kind of came easy because me and my homie Johnny, we had been hanging out a lot. We've been just like chilling out, trying new beers already, and then like barbecuing and just having a good time. And until one day it just clicked. I'm like, dude, like this is like gonna be our little thing, like trying new beers, like while doing a podcast. So we just went with it, and ever since October in 2020, we've been doing it.
Wow, that's really, really cool. Because I was like, I thought that was really original too, because I don't really think I've seen any other podcasts that have done that. I mean, like, yeah, I've seen a bunch of podcasts here in the Valley, and they always do like a talk show type of thing. But the fact that you brought in like, oh, we're gonna try some new beers out here and there, and then talk about whatever, and then you've had special guests on the show as well. Do you want to talk about like the recent one?
The most recent ones was we did a podcast in Teddy's barbecue in Westlaco. So that was pretty awesome. Because it was my first time actually eating Teddy's barbecue, and we just had an amazing experience. And then before that, we had the homie, he goes by JOE, he goes Brewed Up Joe. He's a Fort Worth artist. He makes rap music up there, and he actually raps about craft beers. That's
wow.
That's like his thing. So he's actually getting popular out there with the breweries. He performs at local breweries around there in the Dallas area. And he liked our podcast, so he came down and did it.
Okay. Now the other question was that I had for you. Did anyone else make your intro music, or did you make your intro music?
That's the intro music is the co-host Johnny Esco.
Oh, okay.
He's a music producer / DJ. So he knows like a lot about music too. But we actually started with that intro music, but now we kind of just like wild out and just play what we want to play and stuff.
Yeah. Now, did you ever do a collab with him? That's the other question that I had.
With Johnny?
Johnny, yes.
We actually have one collab song. We've tried different things, but one complete song is actually on one of our holiday episodes, like our Christmas episode. We actually because at the end of each episode, we always shine like local producers or local people who make music and stuff. So we try to put music from any local artist out there at the end. And we actually used our song that we collabed on for that.
Oh wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's like a Christmas song.
Sorry to cut you off there for a second.
It's cool.
But do you ever get like copyright issues when it comes to like putting other artists' songs towards the end of the show? Or does it like oversee it?
I mean, we really don't like we don't get paid for our podcast.
Okay.
So that's why we're able to just do whatever we want, and that's kind of like how we're planning on keeping it, like. So I like doing that. I like doing that. Yeah,
I get you. It's because like what's it called? I've heard like a couple of people that have that trouble within like their podcast as well, because if they try to put like something that's copyrighted, they get like really scared, like, oh, the copyright issues are gonna like come out. It's gonna be like, Yeah,
over here we're like what are they gonna take? Nothing. I don't know. Yeah, but we it's just we're not like, I guess, like we haven't set ourselves as like a legit like business or so it's just I mean, we get to do whatever we want, and what helps us is our sponsors. That helps us, with generating money for the podcast and stuff like that.
I was gonna ask also about the podcast. What has been your favorite episode so far?
One of my favorite. It always goes back to like they always ask us. It has to be like one of our 420 episodes probably.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's actually, we had a really good time, and we were actually in studio with Arnold the Painter and G Ritmo.
Mhm.
and so they're on the episode as well. So it was just if you can imagine, it was just a super funny episode and just super fun.
Yeah, I get you.
But I mean, as we go, like the Teddy's barbecue one, that one was super special for me because I was like, for the first time tasting Teddy's, I was in Teddy's doing a podcast about it while trying it on air with the owner and the pit master there, So that's pretty awesome.
Mhm. I know that in your podcast as well, you not only have done like the Teddy's reviews, but you also have eaten in some episodes of the show. What gained your inspiration for that?
That just shit. I mean, we like food. I mean, anytime we can have a guest out there that's like makes food or something or has a restaurant, like we are down, man. Because I definitely want to try. And there's a whole bunch of stuff here. Like since it's been growing a lot, there's a
Mhm.
whole bunch of new things here that I haven't even tried at all. So it'd be nice to. I'm gonna try to get all of them.
Yeah. I've completely forgot about this question and I just like skimmed over it because I was asking you so many questions. What inspired you to make the title 956 ABV podcast? Is there like a special meaning behind that?
That's awesome because actually, we have a group chat that we mentioned in the podcast. It's our friends. It's four close friends, and one's in Dallas, one's in Arizona, and me and Johnny are here. And so we just came up with the idea in there, and we're like, man, we're gonna try this out. We're gonna make a podcast about this, and we're trying to come up with names, and we're like, man, we know the name's important, man. So we gotta team up, they like team up, and then well, one of our homies, Nathan Schiefelbein, he just put it. He's like, what about like 9.56 like ABV, like the 9.56 ABV. And at first we were like, dude, I don't know about that, like I don't know about that. It doesn't sound too catchy or at all, whatever. So we kind of kept trying stuff out, and then finally, man, we're just like, man, you know what? It sounds pretty cool finally, and we just went along with it, and it just stuck ever since.
Yeah. I get you on that one specifically because I know when I started my podcast for RGV Rocks, this was like back in 2017 because I had another podcast at the time and I was like a huge, weeb. And I was like, we're going to do the anime cosplay show podcast. But then that ended up going like a little bit downhill. Nobody was really listening to it. So I was given the permission to do another podcast and I was like, okay, might as well. And when that happened, I was struggling to find like a title for my podcast. And I'm like, I know I want to do something interview-ish, but I don't know what to call it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's how RGV Rocks came too. So I was like,
And,
oh, okay.
and just for those that don't know, it's ABV is alcohol by volume, like for
Oh
the
wow.
beers. So it's like on all the beers, like they have a percent of like alcohol. So we went with the 9.56 alcohol by volume.
So
yeah, that's
I never thought about that until like right now. I was like, wait a second.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are like, hey, what's ABV? And then we're like, oh, it's alcohol by volume. It's like it's on every beer. So we just like my friend Nate, I guess he put that together in his head, and we just yeah, that was pretty awesome.
That's a genius move. Oh my gosh, I never thought about that like that before. Oh my gosh. That's amazing. Going into we're gonna talk about your film stuff because I know that you have a Instagram and also like social media by Mothership Signal.
Yeah.
You also do merch as well. Tell
Oh
me
yeah.
about that.
Yeah, it's just me and my buddy Nathan, he's the one that films all of and edits Mothership,
Mhm.
which is a sci-fi series that you can find online. And yeah, we have when you go to our website, mothership.com, and it's a one instead of the I. We have to tell that to everybody. But you can go on there and you can find merch. You can find the first season soundtrack for free by me. You can find all our episodes, all our films, all up in there.
Tell us a little bit more about that. Like, what is it like? What's the story behind it?
Story behind it is kind of like it's just like sci-fi stuff that like messes with your head, like a new age Twilight Zone in a way.
Yeah.
It's but it's kind of different because our first season we made especially for Instagram. So it was when you can only film for like 1 minute.
Hmm.
So we did a whole series of 1 minute films, and those are all just music driven. Season two, we actually went with more like 15-minute long films, and they have actually people like actors like talking in them, and they have all this stuff. And so it was a different thing than the first season. And season three, we're actually working on a new film, so that's going to be
Wow.
coming out hopefully sometime this year.
Are you ever trying to release it to any like film festivals?
We've actually done a whole bunch of film festivals.
Mhm.
We've actually done pretty good. We've placed a lot, like for like best sci-fi series. We've gone second place here and there, but we've gotten first place a lot, and I've actually won some awards for my music. I've gone like best uh like uh like sci-fi soundtrack. Like I won, like the first place. I've gotten a good number of awards from film festivals.
Yeah, you don't be shy, just listen.
Nah,
People see it.
nah, they're there. You can find them like online or whatever at our website.
Hmm. And this is like besides the whole creation, because I know like we've gone through your music, we've gone through your filming, and as well as the podcast. But I've noticed that you like to like make little merch for yourself, because I've noticed like the skateboards are like Purple
Oh
Villain.
yeah.
Yeah, you want to talk
uh,
about that? Like what came to mind? Because do you want to like do you want to have your own line?
yeah, I mean, I definitely want to end up having my own merch on my website, but I want like not your average merch, like I want like the cutting boards with my logos on them. I want
Yeah.
like spoons with my logos on them, like just like some random stuff. I've also been like throughout the years, I like how the brand Supreme, like
Yeah.
they put their stuff on any random thing that you can find, and it sells out within minutes and all this. So it's like so I'm just trying to, I get influence from a lot of things that I enjoy, that I like to see, and that's where I get the interest in doing my logo on like some random things that I can probably do, and it'll be different.
Mhm. The other question was, I also skimmed over this as well when I was going to ask you in the beginning of our episode. Do you have an origin story for like Purple Villain, since it's like kind of a little bit inspired by MF Doom?
Not so much in or he's just Purple Villain is pretty much a music maker traveling through space, going from planet to planet, and each planet that he lands on, it's like a different style of music. So with my projects, I'm letting out projects like that are named after like either a planet that me and my friend make up or I make up in my head. And so I'll have like 4 songs with the same style, which I'll put like if he's on that planet, and that's the music that comes out when he's there. And then boom, he gets in a ship, jumps to another planet, like he's just traveling, and he lands and he checks that spot out, and then he gets influence from whatever's at that planet and just makes music, and then pretty much just keeps traveling the world doing that.
Yeah, I get it. Do you
Galaxies.
want to talk about your newest release, which is Atmospherics?
Oh, atmospherics. Yes, for
Yes.
sure. That's just it's just like the same, like same concept. It's just Purple Villain landed in this planet, and atmospherics. It actually has to do with uh like lightning energy, like interference, like using like lightning energy, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a random word that I found and I really liked, so I kind of wanted to put it together. So in my music, it actually has like bits and pieces of like static and stuff. Like I want to keep into like that theme of the planet.
Hmm.
So I try my hardest to incorporate like whatever whatever planet it is, like like try to incorporate like sounds that would match like in my music. So it's just yeah, I mean that one's like a 3-song project that I did. It's an instrumental, and yeah, it's just a pretty cool music.
I feel like you should have like your own like comic book lore or like some sort of book explaining about like the
Man,
different planets.
eventually I would definitely. That's been in the works for a long time. I have a homie who he's like a tattoo artist. Shout out to Joseph. He's actually, we've been in talks about making like little like comic books for each of my projects. Like it's just a big thing that eventually I want to end up doing, like making projects with like a little booklet, like a little comic book, and then like a little USB where you can read the comic book while listening to the music, sort of style. Like
Yeah.
I got stuff like in my mind.
Do you plan on ever doing like a cosplay of like your own persona?
I've actually thought of actually doing shows like that, like dressing up like head to toe in like my logo, like how it is, and just going out there with like lights and smoke and just playing my music. But maybe eventually. I haven't done it yet, but we'll see.
Unfortunately, we are out of time. But for people that are listening right now, do you wanna showcase any like social media or even like projects that you're doing right now?
Uh, as far as social media, just my Instagram at PurpleVillainTX. I got at mothership.signal and at 9.56 ADV podcast. And then just everything's on my website. Everything I do, all my projects, it's www.purplevillain.space.
Thank you so much for joining us here today on our podcast. It was such a pleasure having you today, especially because
Yeah,
like
thank you.
because people like you especially make this podcast, and as well as like the station, the culture around it, it's amazing. I keep wanting to have you guys like on the podcast more, so we might like do another interview sometime, like
Hey,
just to catch up.
I'm always game. So
Yeah. For people that don't know who we are, what we do, I want to remind you guys that we have a Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Facebook and Instagram is just RGV Rocks. I'm sorry about that. And Twitter is Rocks RGV. Facebook and Instagram is RGV Rocks, and Twitter is Rocks RGV. Thank you so much, Purple Villain, for joining us here today. I want to remind everybody that we are listening to KCYP 97.7 FMLP, the city, and we'll see you next time on RGV Rocks. See ya.